So today we'll be discussing the power of forgiveness, and this is one of the most sought after or most not really understood topic in a right sense, in a Gita sense. So let us try to understand power of forgiveness from a perspective of Bhagavad Gita and from the perspective of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it is said in the Bhagavad Gita that we all goes through different type of difficulties in our life. It is said that we goes through difficulties through our own body, through our own mind. We goes through difficulties because of the natural calamities, natural disturbances. Then we also go through difficulty because of somebody else. So when we go through difficulties because of our own body and our mind, it's relatively easier to handle that. But when we go through difficulties, challenges, pain, stress, anxiety, panic, because of somebody else, because of somebody else's mistake, because of somebody else's hurt, because of somebody else's whatever they did wrong to you, it it's a very deep pain within all of us, and it's become very challenging to let go of that pain. And then naturally we feel that unless I give that person back, unless I hurt that person back, unless I get justice, unless things become fair to me, unless I fight for my right, then I cannot live without that. So that pain, that anger, that resentment of somebody else's misdoing to us when are not, we were not wrong, we were right, but what it came to us, we didn't deserve it. We think like this. So because of that, what happens? We hold on to that anger, we hold on to that resentment, we hold on to that kind of a enviousness and that hatred feeling toward that person. And what happens? We are not able to let it go and not able to forgive that person and not able to. Sometimes justice takes time. Sometimes before you can retrieve back, before you can hurt that person back, the gap, long gap, sometimes it never happens. And during that long gap, what is happening is me as a person is getting hurt more and more and more and more. So it's like that somebody has given you the burning coal. If somebody has given you burning coal in your hands, what would you do? Would you hold them or would you throw them? If somebody has given you burning coal in your hand, what would be your reaction? Would you just drop them or would you hold on to unless you can find that person and throw that coal back to that person?
Throw it down.
Put it down. The logical thing is to put it down. To put it down because the more I hold them in my hand, the more I am going to get hurt. And the more time I wait till the time I can give that back to the person, the more I am going to get burnt. It is not going to serve any purpose. So it is said that becoming angry on somebody is like drinking poison and thinking other person to die. So when our whole life get consumed in proving that person wrong, in fighting for justice, that's right, you can fight for justice. I'm not here not to inspire, not to find for justice. What I'm saying is that till the time you find for till the time you fight for the justice, what is happening within you is you're getting more and more harmed. You're getting more and more hurt. You're getting more and more troubled. So then what do we do? Shall we stop asking for justice? Shall we stop fighting for fairness? Shall we not teach that person a lesson? Shall we just be a victim? What shall we do? What is the solution out of it? So, again, a beautiful story from the Srimad Bhagavatam, what we have been discussing all across, the story of Maharaj Parikshit. as we discussed in couple of last sessions, that Maharaj Parikshit was being cursed by Shringi, the son of Shamika Rishi, and Shamika Rishi came in the lineage of Angira Rishi. So when that Parikshit Maharaj came to know that he's been cursed unduly, actually when the Shringi comes back to house and he tells to Shamika Rishi that it is what I have done, I have cursed this Maharaj Parikshit, then Shamika Rishi becomes very disturbed. He thinks, my dear son, what have you done? The king has not performed that kind of a sinful activity that you had cursed him, that he could die within the next 7 days by the bite of a scorpio. It was not that big of a sin also that you have cursed him like this. So so now even Shringi was repenting his own mistake. Why did I curse Maharaj Parikshit? It was my bad and I should have not done that. But by the time the curse was given by a Brahmana's mouth. So now Maharaj Parikshit came to know about that curse, the curse of being died in the next 7 days, just because he put one dead snake on the neck of a Shamika Rishi. Was it just to Maharaj Parikshit? Was it fair to Maharaj Parikshit? And mind you, the Maharaj Parikshit was very thirsty, was very hungry when he entered into the ashram of Shamika Rishi. So he did not actually offend Shamika Rishi out of his own joy. He was in so much of pain, so much of trouble, that when he did not find the water, and he thought in his mind, maybe this Rishi is trying to not respect him and just artificially he's faking the meditation. He thought like that, and just to mock him, he put that snake on the Shamika Rishi's neck. So just because of that, does he deserve to die within the next 7 days? And since he's a great king, he has done lots and lot of sacrifice for the whole kingdom. Even Shamika Rishi was able to perform meditation without any disturbance because of the administrative services provided by the king, by Maharaj Parikshit. So was it just to Maharaj Parikshit? Was it fair to Maharaj Parikshit? No, it was not at all. So then what was his response? What did he do? Did he become angry toward Shringi? Did he try to counter curse? No. The first thing what he did, which is very important for all of us to also understand, that he accepted the will of the Lord without any resentment. He became radically responsible whatever has come to him. He accepted the fact that now I've been cursed. Maybe it is the will of the Lord. So let me, and it is my mistake. So let me have the 100% radical responsibility for what is happening to me. Once we have this idea of radical responsibility, that it is me who have co-created this experience in my life because of my own past karma. It is me who is 100% responsible what is happening to me. In any way, it could be that I gave this opportunity to this person to hurt me, or it was me who did something wrong to this person, that person could come back to me and hurt me back. So the first understanding what we need to have is to have the 100% radical responsibility about our life. The moment we have this 100% radical responsibility, we will be able to deeply accept what is happening to me. Because there are two ways of action. One way of acting is acting out of higher consciousness, and other way of acting is from lower consciousness. Is from being a higher person or being a lower person. Being in a lower consciousness, the natural response from a lower consciousness would be, let me fight it. How could this person this to me? I'm a victim and I need to prove myself. I need to fight for justice. And unless I fight for justice, I'm not going to sit back. I'm just keep on hammering and hurting myself, another person, and everybody around me because of that hurt what I'm experiencing right. The higher consciousness is, yes, whatever is happening to me right now is my responsibility. That person is simply becoming a postman in delivering my karma back to me. So we discussed last time, do we become angry on a postman when we delivered $500 bill, or would we become very happy when that person gives us $1,000 check? We don't either become happy, either become angry toward the postman, right? Similarly, the person who has hurted me is simply a postman and who is delivering my own karma back to me. That is what Maharaj Parikshit did. And also, what happens is the second aspect of being able to forgive somebody is by also having that idea of compassion. That how could what impelled that person to act in a certain way that person hurted me. Many of the time we think that person is hurting me because I did something wrong. Because I did something wrong and I am at mistake and I'm not able to forgive myself because of that shame, because of that guilt, and now that person did something back to us. Now we think that to get rid of this pain, to get rid of this guilt, to get rid of this shame, I need to fight it back. But we forget to understand that that person who is attacking you in any way, it could be verbal attack, it could be physical attack, it could be legal attack, it could be like any form of attack, knowingly or unknowingly, from a very close person or from a unknown person. So other person never was trying to hurt me. The other person was trying to protect themselves. It's a game changing. If you can understand this, the lot of resentment what we hold and not being able to forgive other person, it will open up the shell. Other person was not trying to hurt me. The other person was trying to protect themselves. Because of being protecting themselves, they feel, because they become so scared, they feel very unprotected, they feel very fearful, and for them the only way they know is to hurt other person out of that vengeance, out of that pain, so that they can get rid of their pain, they can get rid of their fearful. Maybe that person is thinking, oh, it is you who is going to hurt them in future. That is their fear. Maybe you're going to take over their position, you're going to take away their whatever they desperately need in their life. And because of that fear, other person becomes agitated and that person comes and attack us. So understand that person, you are not at fault. Sometimes I may also be at fault. That person, it triggered that person, something in that person, but mostly it was his own weakness. And I am here getting hurt because of his weakness. Is me being put in that situation is because of my karma. It's something I spoke, something I did, something I reacted that created insecurity in that person's heart, that created fearfulness in that person's heart, and that person came and hurted me. So understanding from a more compassionate point of view, even that person is fighting their own struggles. That person is also fighting their own challenges. That person is also fighting their own difficulties. So to be able to see from their perspective, and when I'm saying to be able to see from their perspective does not mean that you forsake yourself and you don't attend to your own difficulties and you don't fight for justice. The whole thing what we are discussing here, I'm not promoting not fighting for justice. Externally we may do whatever is needed to do. What we are discussing, how do we internal keep ourselves clean? How do we not continue hurting ourselves even after the actual hurt from that person? Because unless we change our heart, externally life will not change. We cannot change the fruits, which is like experience of our life, unless we change the roots, which is making that seed, those seed, which is growing that fruit. So experience of our life could be both way, could be happy or could be sad, could be very uplifting, could be very demotivating, could be very inspiring, could be demotivating, uninspiring. That is an experience and that is a fruit of life. And it is all rooted in the heart, the seed, the thinking, the perception, the ideas, and the belief we carry, the Shastric belief or the non Shastric belief. The Shastric perception is, the Shastric belief is from the Gita that other person is not hurting you, the other person was trying to protect themselves, and you hold the 100% accountable, responsible for whatever is happening to you. And from that plane, from that higher dharmic plane, you can do your duty, whatever is required to maintain distance, to maintain boundary, to fight in the justice, to do whatever is required. So when we see our story our way, oh, that person hurted me, that person did this to me, that person did that to me. So it is your story. Maharaj Parikshit would have gone into that format. His story could be, what was his story? What could have been his story? If I was at the place of Maharaj Parikshit, what would have been my thinking? My story could have been, I will teach that boy a lesson. What that boy think of himself? How dare he cursing me? Doesn't he know how much I am doing service to the whole kingdom? Doesn't he know how much hard work I do for the whole kingdom? Doesn't he know how much sacrifice I make for the whole kingdom? Doesn't he know all of that? I will go and hang this small boy till death. I have that power. And he was a king. He didn't have to fight for justice at all. He could have just gone and shoot that boy Shringi or counter curse it, remove that curse from himself, and also kind of kill that boy. That could have been some of the reactions, maybe my reaction for that matter, if I was in that powerful position. That could have been my story. But Maharaj Parikshit did not focus on his story, he focused on God's story. He did not see the life, he did not see that situation his way, he saw the situation the God's way. When Maharaj Parikshit saw the situation from God's way, from Krishna's way, then he could understand it is a plan of the Lord. And the plan of the Lord is, I became so attached to my household life, I became too attached to my kingdom, and now it is signal from Krishna that I should just let go of all of that and just focus on the ultimate perfection of life and just hear about the glories of the Lord and understand what is the duty of a person who is about to die. So when he saw that incident from the God's eye, from Krishna's eyes, not even a single iota of anger was in his heart. In fact, he became more enthusiastic about life. What is that I can do now? Similarly, it could be whenever something happened to us, we become angry toward the situation or toward that person, we feel it is unjust to us. Just take a moment and see here two things. What is this situation teaching me? What can I learn from this situation? Once there was a great devotee of an angel, like a is a biblical real story, and the devotee was praying and praying and praying, and that angel appeared in front of that person. And the angel asked, okay, my dear devotee, I am very happy with you. Now you can ask whatever you want to ask. I want to give you some boon. This devotee asked, my dear angel, I want to become the most compassionate person in the whole world. I see the Jesus compassion, and I see Jesus compassion for me, and I also want to share the same compassion for the other human being, fellow human beings. Now this angel says, okay, what I'm going to do is I am going to become your worst enemy in the next lifetime. Next lifetime, what we will take, I will appear, I will come in your life as your worst enemy. Why she would come as a worst enemy in that person's life? You may be wondering now. I would come in your life as your worst enemy, and when I would become your worst enemy, I would do a lot of harm to you, I will hurt you, and you will be forced to develop very high level of compassion to be able to forgive me. To be able to forgive me, whatever I have done to you, you will have to develop very high level of compassion. And you have to force yourself to upgrade your consciousness and uplift yourself. And when you're able to forgive me, that very moment you should know that you have developed very high level of compassionate heart. Sometime you don't know what are the lessons we can learn from that. You can always ask this question: how would God see that situation? How would Krishna see that situation? And how there could be some blessings in disguise. Immediately it's very painful, but in a long term it may be for serving you, it may be for your benefit, or it could be there is something which I am unable to learn. To be able to fulfill your life purpose, to be able to get really what you really want from a higher perspective, you need to upgrade yourself. You need to learn certain qualities. And what are those qualities? That is a question we need to ask ourselves. So this is a very important understanding that sometimes we could be like, it's not about, as we say, it would not be about that person, it would be about me. And what is it about me? What it is up, see what happens sometime. Actually, if you see from that person, right, that person did not intend to give you experience what you're experiencing right now because of that person. It might have been not even their intention to hurt you. It might have been just innocent thing what they did out of their own unconsciousness, out of being unconscious. So now that trigger has triggered you, which is triggering you, which is bringing all those suppressed feeling what you have been hiding in your heart. For example, just an example, if I become very sensitive in any correction from my boss, real time example, if I become very sensitive to any sort of correction from my boss, from my authority, then know that there is some deep thing seated in my heart, and I'm angry towards my first authority in my life. The first authority in my life had given me so much of pain, and now any authority gives me any sort of correction, it triggers the original pain. And what is that first authority in our life? There are dad, mother or dad, mom or dad. The pain of the father is still carried, and I'm just getting triggered. So now to be able to set right situation in your life now, we need to go back and forgive our parents. We need to forgive my father or my mother. The moment you forgive the parents, the moment you forgive your father or mother, that very moment you will see how much healing has happened, how much energy you're holding up in that space, the part of you, it get released, and you become yourself. You become empowered to lead the life in a more meaningful way now. So you can say, no, I would just want to continue. How does it really matter? I don't want to give up this anger, this because this serves me well. This is serving me. If I give up that anger, then I will not be motivated to work in my life. Sometimes, I have to prove myself. That becomes the motive for me to work hard and harder to prove that person. Have you come across some situation like that? it happened with me that I am doing certain action just to prove myself, because I got hurt and that pain was very deep, and I want to get rid of that pain. So I have to keep proving myself and keep wasting my life proving somebody who's not even part of my life anymore. So what happens once there was a teacher, and gives this teacher gives one exercise to all the 10 student of a class. And the teacher says, my dear student, tomorrow you should bring that many number of potatoes, that many people you're angry toward. If you're angry toward one person, bring one potato. If you're angry toward 5%, bring 5 potatoes. If you're angry toward 10%, bring 10 potatoes. So next day, all the 10 students comes. Now, somebody bought 5 potatoes, somebody bought 10 potatoes, somebody bought 15 potatoes, somebody bought 25 potatoes. So many people they were holding resentment and anger toward. So now the teacher says, okay, you should keep all these potatoes in your bag, and you should always carry this bag wherever you go, and never let go of that bag even for a moment from yourself, from your body. It should be sticking to your body like a glue for the next 7 days. Just imagine somebody is carrying 25 potatoes, always carrying that baggage, sleeping with the baggage, sleeping with 25 potatoes, and sometime they would have to bathe with their potatoes. The water goes in the potatoes, they start stinking after some time, and all the foul smells start coming with that heaviness, like just carrying that dirt, you're carrying the dirty smell which you don't want to have you imagined then carrying some, let's say you have a lot of trash to clear, carrying trash which is a stinky, and you're holding it, and you can just dump it. You have to walk certain distance to be able to dump it. Have you come across what is that movement like, those specific times, those specific maybe 10 second, 15 second, 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minutes? Very disgusting, right? You're just waiting, when can I just drop this trash? Similarly, that was happening to those all those 10 students. And by the end of seventh day, they were just desperate. Can we just let go? Can we just throw all these potatoes from our body, from our bag? Because they were just constantly being burdened and inhaling that foul smell. And the teacher said, that many number of people you are committing to forgive in your life, not actually forgive, but committing to start forgiving in your life, and that many number of potatoes you can throw. So everybody threw all the potatoes, and they committed that from now onwards, I'm on a progressive path to start forgiving all these people in my life. And this quality of forgiveness is such dear to Krishna. Krishna says forgiveness is such a wonderful Brahmanical quality, and when you forgive somebody, Krishna becomes very pleased with you. And when you forgive somebody in your life, then you also deserve a right. You earn a right to be forgiven for your mistake also. So when you forgive somebody, you get a right also to be forgiven. And if you don't forgive somebody, then you continue to develop that negative emotional bond with that person. That person has taken rent free space on your head. The person about whom you cannot stop thinking, because that person has hurted you so much, that person is having a rent free space in your head. So does that person deserve rent free space in your mind, in your heart, in your body, in your system? If not, then start forgiving. At least become open to forgiving. And otherwise there will be an emotional traumatic bond, and karmically, even though you hate that person, The same person will keep on coming in your life, even in this lifetime or other lifetimes. And sometime, those people whom you hate the most will come in your life like your best friend. Another interesting thing. The person whom you hate the most and not able to forgive will become the most loving person in your next lifetime. And I can ask, what is this? What kind of karma, law of karma is that? The law of the kind of interesting fact is this, that unless you become very close to them or they become very close to you will not be able to give them back what they have given to you. If I know you are my enemy, I will just run away from you, right? But if I know, oh, that person is my friend, very near and dear friends, so we become attached. And the more we become attached, the more other person have a power to keep hurting me or me hurting other person. So, I mean, now it's up to you. I mean, the person whom you have given the rent-free space in your head. So, if you want to bring the rent-free space in your own physical life also, and it would justifies a situation happens wherein a lot of cases happens that two people met each other, they had such a wonderful chemistry, they fall in love with each other, in one day they just became girlfriend boyfriend, they start living together, they shift in, and after a couple of days they become so attached to each other they couldn't live without each other, and the girl start blindly trusting that boy. After 1 month, that boy kills that girl and take away everything from that girl, or the girl kill that boy and take away everything from that boy. Isn't it like many stories like that? So they were the worst enemy of their previous lifetime. There was some karma pending, and now they come very close, very intimate connection. You become guardless. You're not able to have any protection for yourself. There's no defense mechanism anymore, and that person can butcher you. So, or you can butcher that person. You will be given that opportunity to be able to butcher that person, literally or emotionally or any way. So now it's up to us whether we want to forgive that person or just continue developing that trauma bond, emotional, energetic bond. And because unless we are able to forgive, we are not free to be able to look forward in our life and to create the deep attachment for Krishna, deep attachment for the spiritual life, and to be able to fix up in our spiritual life. So unless my mind is a factory of generating all these negative emotions, I will not be free to be able to drive forward in my life toward Krishna. So if you look backward in your car and think you will reach your destination, what will happen? Will you reach your destination the moment you try to look back and drive forward? No. If we want to drive forward toward Krishna's lotus feet, we cannot do it unless we keep looking backward. Keep looking backward means keep looking all those people who have hurted us. And the most interesting thing is, the very moment you stop fighting for justice, like Prahlad Maharaj was being given so much of harassment by Hiranyakashipu. He did not fight for himself. He accepted it. But Lord Krishna did not accept it. Narsimha Dev came and he tore Hiranyakashipu apart. So when we stop fighting for ourselves and looking forward to go towards Krishna, Krishna will fight for us. Krishna will make sure that justice is given. Krishna will make sure whatever is due to you will come to you. So you can try to fight with your own strength, and how much, no matter how much harder you try, we can create limited amount of impact. But when Krishna will slap somebody, no matter how much silent that slap is, it would create that kind of an impact. To that heavier that slap would be, more silent, more heavier, less impactful. So even so, we should just give it to Krishna, let Krishna fight. That would be the most peaceful condition for our own spiritual growth. And we become very dear to Krishna. And even in Prahlad Maharaj's heart, he was just asking, my dear My dear Nasimadev, I know my father has tormented me with so many miseries, but what I want is please forgive him. Please do not punish him and let him be liberated in the next lifetime. That was Prahlad's heart. The heart of Prahlad, oh, good, Nasimadev, you killed my father. He was such a demon. He saw because it was inevitable. He knew it will anyways happen. But he asked Hiranyakashipu to be forgiven for all his sins. That is a Vaishnava's heart. To be able to forgive and to be able to forgive. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada says the real Vaishnavism means, the real devotee means inspiring to give the highest benefit to your worst enemy. Inspiring to give the best thing to your worst enemy. To forgive him and to pray for him, let in his heart the enviousness be destroyed towards me, and let him become good and good devotee of Krishna so that he can become peaceful. That's what Prahlad Maharaj says. We'll conclude here, and if anybody have any doubts, any questions, anybody would like to share something, we'll be just open to that.
Prabhuji, I have two questions. But first, a little funny comment that came to my mind
I'm
that,
unable
you
to
know, but
hear you. I'm not sure why I'm not able to hear you clearly. Are you like near to the recording or
can you hear me now?
just something? Maybe can you try once more to speak?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
I can hear very feebly, but what I will do is I will stop my recording and maybe hear you from my ears. Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So I have two questions, but just a funny comment that came to my mind first with the girl boy example that you gave. Can we just generalize that all husband and wives in their previous lives were just enemies? Now they're
Yeah.
just teaching each other. But
Yes.
so I have two questions. First one is, and I don't know if this is a different class or not, but what exactly does forgiveness entail? And then I'll ask the second question after that.
Yeah. So, what does really forgiveness entails? Forgiveness entails just letting go that person out of your life and does not hold any anger, any resentment, any sort of a negative attachment to that person. The moment you have any sort of negative attachment, because that is also an attachment, it's a love hate relationship, right? Bhoga tyaga, you love that person, again you hate that person, again you love that person, is a hate in that person. Even narcissist empath have the same kind of relationship between themselves. The moment you're let go of any sort of strings with that person and able to just forget that person from your mind by not having any emotional negative attachment, that is the essence of forgiveness.
But how do you do that if it's like a close relationship?
So what you could do in your close relationship is it become very challenging. So in your close relationship, acceptance is very important and maintaining a very strong boundaries. Maybe that could be the lesson. You could be very weak in your own boundaries and in your asserting yourself. That's a lesson the nature that Krishna wants to teach you. You will be with that person, although you have forgiven, there is no emotional attachment. Still, you should be able to see that person as a spiritual being, as a spirit soul, and further uplift your consciousness to be able to see everybody as a spiritual being. Second thing, also to be able to maintain very strong boundary with that person and learn how can you be in that difficult situation and still be uninfected from that. That's next level of learning it could be. If in case that person has to live in the same physical space.
Got it. The other question was a little bit tricky. So, you talked about basically if there is hurt, working on acceptance, like it was my karma or it was them, whatever it was, like I accept the fault. Now, in certain situations, it's fine, but we'll take the situation of, let's say, somebody who got raped, let's say Nirbhaya case, let's say if she was hypothetically alive. In those situations, how do you tell a person, well, you got raped, but it was your fault? Because most of the time, like even in therapy, they'll always say, like, it's not your fault, it's their fault, because the victim usually has a lot of guilt. Like maybe it was me, maybe, I did something that brought on that. So a lot of time in therapy, they'll say, it's not you, it was them. So that is, I feel, in direct, contradiction to what you mentioned, where we are taking the blame. Because the victim now is already feeling guilty. Maybe I brought this on to me. And then telling them, hey, maybe, it's your karma, it just feels very brutal. And we're talking about, like a really brutal, like a rape case, which, I mean, pick up the newspaper, you'll find thousands of those every single day.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting facet you have brought. Thank you so much for bringing this extreme example. And see, when I'm saying accepting that as your karma, so even let's say if that Nirbhaya was present, so would I be telling her, accept that was your karma, that so many people will do such a nasty thing to you? Yes, first thing is, I won't say that because that person is not ready to listen to that. First thing is, let him experience his pain, let him experience his anger, let him experience whatever rage he has in himself. And first of all, the very important aspect of acceptance of a karma is also means acceptance of your emotions, radical acceptance of your emotions. Let me first, because acceptance of karma will pass through different stages. The first stage is acceptance of your emotional reality. And when I'm accepting the emotional reality, yes, I am feeling hurt, I am feeling angry, I am feeling disappointed, I am feeling whatever you're feeling. They are true emotions. So in therapy, also, you create a space wherein they can actually experience all those emotions without feeling judged. That is what the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, when Arjuna was speaking his heart out, Krishna did not interject him. Krishna did not say, oh, what kind of foolish talk you're giving me? Stop speaking like this. Listen, it was your karma, you have to fight. No, Krishna did not start that way. Krishna, first of all, allowed Arjuna to express himself fully so that that person can have a emotional acceptance of his reality. And when that person has come across the emotional acceptance of the reality, then comes the practical acceptance of a reality. That yes, I also contributed something in some way or other. May not be like I did not, I might have, that girl might have not provoked those people to rape her, but might have been something else. I don't know. I cannot judge. I cannot gauge. What was the practical thing they would have changed? And if the result might have been different. So emotional acceptance, that is completely very therapeutic. So that you can get that human to human warmth and heal out of that. Then you become ready to actually go to the next step of practically accepting the responsibility. And then come the acceptance of a karma. I can say acceptance of a karma, but it's a very long process. To be able to come to that point, it takes like it could take many lifetimes to be able to come to that level of acceptance and that level of karma, that level of consciousness. For somebody, it's very easy. For somebody, it may be very difficult. Second thing, the justice also, in this particular case, it is a Vedic scriptural rule. If somebody rapes somebody without, because they're digressing the boundaries, the best thing you can do to that person is to hang that person till death. The best thing what can happen, you can give to other person who has given wrong to you, to hang that person till death. The reason is so that they go through the suffering in the same lifetime, the karma get cut. Otherwise, in next lifetime, they will have to continue bearing same karma in a compounding effect. and they would be in a much more miserable situation. So actually, compassion is shown to those people who has done such a heinous act is to hang them till death. So that is a scriptural understanding of this kind of a situation.
So, in case we have, let's say, a trauma victim, right, and we're trying to combine therapy approaches plus Gita, because therapy and Gita almost seem they have a close overlap. What do we tell that person? Because a lot of people have heard, they struggle with this guilt, and it could have been like trauma happened in their they will still carry that guilt of like maybe it was me. And most of the people I've seen who kind of worked through their trauma, they've kind of come to an understanding, okay, it wasn't me, it was them, I was not at fault. So what would you say would be like a good approach for those people, combining Gita as well as therapy and to help them?
Yeah, very interesting aspect that if you were to help those people who are not able to come across from this traumatic situation, it was my fault, I did something wrong, maybe it was my mistake, it was me who's responsible for that. The most important thing we need to teach them is self compassion and self forgiveness. Because forgiving other person will not start at all if they are not able to forgive themselves. Need to understand that yes, it might have been their fault, but they were also limited in a sense. They were in a specific situation, difficulties in their life. Anybody would have reacted that way in that particular situation. So being able to have that self compassion, yes, I was going through this pain. I might have done something which triggered them and which hurted me. I might have been responsible, but that's the best I could do in that presence, in that particular situation, in that limited circumstances where I was bounded up in so many situations. So first thing is having self compassion. So a person really need to shower a lot of compassion to that part of themselves, and that could be seen having compassion from the therapist. Also, just allow that person to show that compassion, that kindness, that mercy, because that touches their heart. At least one person they know accept that it was not their fault. So by energetically being present with them, that it was not your fault, not saying in words, but transforming that energy to them. One thing. And then when they are able to heal that part of them and able to have their self compassion, then it becomes easier to self forgive. And when you can self forgive, you're out of that situation, it becomes much more easier to forgive other person. One thing always should be remembered: I am not able to forgive that person because it still hurts me. If you were to remove that pain from your heart, forgiving become very easy. The only thing which holds me back of not being able to forgive is my own pain, and dealing with that pain is self compassion, self forgiveness, and also accepting that I am imperfect. Yes, I can never be perfect because as a human, even today I can make mistakes. Everybody can make mistakes. It's a human context. Accepting the fact I can make mistake and not having that high level of expectation from oneself, perfectionism, let's say. Many people struggle with perfectionism because a very high expectation. Even a small lack from that high expectation, they're not able to accept it. It hurts them. And anybody who created that will be a demon in my eyes, and I will be demon in my eyes if I'm not able to reach that standard. So accepting, yes, I was weak. Accepting, yes, I was in a vulnerable situation. Accept that, yes, I needed help and it was not being provided to me, and I did best whatever I could do. So accepting of your own human imperfections, then you would be able to give compassion to yourself, then able to forgive, and then just release that negative attachment, and then actually be able to release the whole experience. So now one more thing what happens here is reframing that idea, because no matter how much therapeutic work you do, unless they're able to see what actually transpired after that, what helped them, or what, how this their life changed after that, what lesson need to be learned, or they have learned that lesson, that quality needed to be developed. Start seeing the situation from a God's view. That is a real game changer. That is what happened with Maharaj Parikshit. At very moment, you can just, most therapeutic thing you can give to anybody is to be able to make them realize that they are a spiritual being and gods have a plan for them, and to be able to see the situation from God's eyes, and then you will be released. Otherwise, that it will keep recycling, not releasing.
Very tough, though. I think, if you think about even like the families of the victims, I mean, those people died, yeah, but thinking about their families and everything, it's kind of a difficult process. But
Yeah,
thank you.
it is certainly a very, very difficult process. Even understanding is difficult. What to talk about? Because we all have our own human weaknesses. So that is why when we have Krishna on our side, he will empower us. Because Maharaj Parikshit had Krishna on his side. That is why spirituality is the most therapeutic thing which can happen to a person's life. No matter how much psychoanalysis, no matter how much medicine, no matter how much, whatever we do, whatever we try to do, it doesn't change. At heart, doesn't change. The heart transformation is such a crucial thing. So that happens only when we actually practice spirituality at a deeper level. Hope that clarifies your doubts.
But I also feel there's an element of partiality, in terms of like, why would God let someone go through all these things? I mean, I get it. Maybe they did bad things in their past life and all of that stuff. But I mean, still, for someone to go through that, worst case scenario for someone to survive and continue their life like that, I mean, it's really difficult to tell them, hey, God does exist, because where was God when all of that was happening? Like, Krishna came for Draupadi because whatever. But, most people, nobody's coming in, they're suffering and they just continue to suffer. And we just blame it on, like, oh, well, maybe it was your past karma and you got to pay your past dues.
Yeah, that is true. So that is why, even before we can tell, see, this is what we're discussing here. We don't tell that person directly all of that. It has to go through certain processes. So the most important thing is, first of all, to make them realize that you are a spiritual being having this human experience. You're not the experience. Like just watching a horror movie. When you watch a horror movie, or let's say you watch a very horror dream, no matter whatever is happening in the dream, you have been raped, you have been killed, you have been hurt, whatever is happening in the dream, the physical body is still intact. You're completely safe. Similarly, at a higher level, this is also a dream which is going on. That's one of our topic. Dream. It's a daylight
So
dream. And,
focusing, so
and it's not
focusing
easy to
on,
accept it again.
so focusing, we are the soul. The body is just the cover. It's like, theater, you're playing a part. What happened to happen to your body, but then the soul is always there. The soul is the one which is always protected. So it
Yes.
wasn't your soul that was, raped
Yes.
or something. It's the
Yes.
body,
Yes.
and
Yes.
the soul is still safe.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is what Krishna is most concerned about. Krishna is most concerned about you, not the body, because you're not the body. And Krishna is most concerned about you as a spiritual being. And he is always protecting his spiritual being. And sometime material body has to go through his own whatever it is, so that the soul can be protected. So unless a person comes to believe, realize that they are a spiritual being having a human experience, as an experience for me, in a detached way, in an objective way, just see that as a objective reality is happening, something like in front of your screen, something is going on. So that's a understanding. So let me see. There is some doubts here in the chat. If forgiveness is about choosing growth over grievance and stepping into inner freedom, how do we truly practice in our everyday life when we are facing physical or emotional abuse? Is it right to forgive while still harm is happening? Or does real growth begins with protecting us and setting boundaries? Can we seek the inner peace is spoken of it in the Bhagavad Gita without tolerating injustice and its forgiveness, something that must come later on our own terms rather than in the midst of pain. Where do we draw the line between surrender and self-betrayal? Does surrendering to those who cause us pain means we are being compassionate, or are we being unfair and abusive to ourselves? Yeah, it's a very interesting perspective, very interesting question. Thank you very much, Pallavi, for asking this. So, see, this forgiveness can be uh, first thing. This forgiveness is most important for you to keep yourself clean from inside. It does not mean at all whatever action you were to take as a duty, you should do as a duty. Sometime not performing that action could go against justice, could go against law of karma. Not performing your duty of setting up boundaries, of fighting for justice sometime, because that person will continue doing same thing with other people also. So I mean, something bad happened. That person, I know that person has done something wrong to me. If you allow that person to continue doing that, then what am I doing? I'm just actually not doing my duty as a human being, whatever I could do. So actually, when you forgive somebody in your heart and not holding resentment in your heart, you can fight much better, because there's no emotional attachment there than there. You can think from your head how to perform your duty well. When you are able to perform your duty well of whatever is in your hand without going overboard, or without kind of sometime it could be like you have to make that person dead in this lifetime. That could be the most compassionate thing can happen to that person in this lifetime. That is how I'm loving that person. Tough love. Sometime let it go, it's not in my hand. Let Krishna take care. If you are at that level, depends. So now depends what level you are at. If you can completely let go and completely surrender, many of us, most of us are not in that situation, like Maharaj Parikshit. We are not Maharaj Parikshit, we are not pure devotees. So we cannot imitate the highest standard that will go against us. So wherever we are, practice forgiveness so that your system will remain clean, and fight for your duty, fight for your justice with a clean heart, not out of vengeance, but out of service for that particular soul. Otherwise, that soul will get into more and more papa karma and will continue hurting himself. So again, the duty also in the mind of a king to hang that person on a death is not out of anger, is actually out of compassion for that person. King could kill somebody out of compassion. It's unheard of. Actually, it can happen. Hanuman was most compassionate devotee of Krishna, of Ramchandra. He burned Ravana's Lanka. His heart was melting for Sita's service and for Ram's service, but he couldn't spare Ravana. Not that he has some anger, personal anger toward him. He was having the service mood towards Ramchandra. He was not fighting in a personal level with Ravana. He was doing service to Rama and was fighting with Ravana. And there were no person in the whole world could fight that way. Even Arjuna, for that matter. Arjuna's heart was full of compassion. He was not fighting Pandavas, Kauravas for kingdom. Because for fighting for kingdom, he gave up in the first chapter. I don't want to fight for kingdom. I don't want the kingdom. But it is for Krishna, he did the fighting. And when for Krishna he did the fighting, although they were small, 5 Pandavas could kill the whole Kauravas army. You see? So by forgiving, actually not holding on to that anger, that resentment, that sadness, any of those in your heart, and having a clean heart, as a service to Krishna, you can fight and you can just even become victorious even in a unknown circumstances. Hope that clarifies. Anybody else have any other doubts, any other questions? Anybody else? Maybe if you like to share something, one point each. So before we move to the next part of the session, one learning from this discussion, what you would like to carry with yourself, what you would like to keep, what you would like to remember and share.